Good morning, students. Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. So let us move on to the next module today. That is random variables and probability distributions. So before going to the module, let us see some of the definitions involved with the probability. Already studied, you know what is probability, but still let us recollect all the definitions. So before moving on to probability, I just want to know what do you mean by a random experiment? I hope you have heard about random experiments. Okay. A random experiment means any experiment which is performed, and when repeatedly performed, every time the outcome will be different. That is, you are not sure about the outcome. Whenever you do an experiment, whatever the experiment is there, if every time the outcome will be different, in the sense you are not sure about the outcome. Like if you toss a coin, either you may get a head or you may get a tail, but you are not sure whether you will get a head or you will get a tail. So such experiments are called as random experiments. That is, here tossing of a coin, we call it as a random experiment. Similarly, tossing of a die or a rolling of a die or a dice. Okay, suppose you roll a dice, any number from 1 to 6 may appear. So you are not sure about whether you get a 1 or you get a 6. So such experiments wherein you are not sure about the outcome every time you perform it. So such are called as the random experiments. Okay. So next we have this trial. When we repeat the experiment several times, we call each one of them as a trial. So when you do the experiment, suppose you toss the coin once, okay, that is called as a trial. You have used this word trial, I hope, many times. Like it is, when you are playing, maybe in groups, like cards, if you are playing, or other things, you say that it is your trial now. So trial means a turn, you can say, or your chance of playing the game. We call it as a trial. So here, when we repeat the random experiment several times, we call each of them as a trial. Every time you repeat the experiment, here it is not in groups, you are only performing the experiment. So every time you perform the experiment, each of the types will call it as a trial. Okay. Thus, a trial is a particular performance of a random experiment. Okay. And in the example of a thing of coin, each trial will result in either head or tail. So every time you perform the experiment, every time you go for a trial, the outcome will be either head or you'll get a tail. Okay. The sample space of the random experiment is the set of all possible outcomes of the experiment. So like this, I have written here. When you toss a dice, the outcomes, the possible outcomes are any number from 1 to 6. Now, if you write it as a set, then this set is called as the sample space. We call it as the sample space of that experiment, of that particular random experiment. Okay. For tossing of a dice, the sample space is this. Usually we denote it by capital letter S. It is a set here, we are saying. So it is denoted by capital letters, and the elements are enclosed in flower brackets only. Whenever you write a sample space, the elements have to be enclosed in flower braces. And if I say a coin is tossed, then this becomes your sample space. Again, I can write yes, or I can write yes 1, or I can write yes 2. Nothing wrong if at all you denote it by A also, but usually sample spaces are denoted by yes only. Okay, yes denotes the sample space, or sometimes you may use U, universal set. So this is about the sample space. If you take any subset of this sample space, we call it as an event. Any subset of this sample space, we call it as an event. For example, suppose you are tossing a die. These are the possible outcomes. Now, if I say that we want even number to appear, even number appears. If I say even number appears, then what are the possible outcomes? If I say even number appears, then dice is thrown. What are the possibilities?
2, 4, and 6, ma'am.
Yes, the possibilities are 2, 4, and 6. Now, this is you can see that it is a subset of this yes, and we will call it as an event, usually denoted by E, or even you can write ABC like that. Okay, the event E corresponds to the even number appearing when a dice is thrown. Okay, this is whenever you say an event, it will be of course a subset of your sample space. Suppose I say odd number appears. Odd number appears. I'll make this even. What are the possibilities if I say odd number appears?
1, 3, and 5.
Well, 1, 3, and 5. Suppose I say prime number appears. What are the possibilities? I'll call it as the event E3. Which are the prime numbers from the sample space? Only from the sample space. Quick.
2, 3, 5.
2, 3, 5. Is it right, other students? Is telling 2, 3, 5. Is it correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other prime numbers in the set? They are taking just the prime numbers from this set. Are there any other prime numbers from this set? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
No. So don't take 1 here. Usually you will mistake that. 1, it is neither prime nor composite. Okay. So we'll not take this one. So the prime numbers we are having it 2, 3, and 5. So we have these E1, E2, E3, and you can see that each of them are subsets of our sample space. So these are called as the events. Now, in short, it is written outcome is a result of the random experiment. Sample space is a set of all possible outcomes. Event is a subset of the sample space. Okay. Now, let us go more into this events. So you'll define equally likely events. So the name itself tells you equally likely events. So when the event has the same theoretical probability of happening, then they are called equally likely events. So the result of a sample space are called equally likely if all of them have the same probability of occurring. Suppose we toss a coin. We know that the probable outcomes are either head or tail. Then can you say that head appears more number of times than tail, or tail appears more number of times than head? No. Both of them are equally likely to appear. Either you may get head or you may get a tail. They are equally likely to appear. So we call them as equally likely. Similarly, when you toss a dice, any number you take, it is equally likely to appear. When you toss it, you make it any number, all have the possibilities. It is not that 2 appears more number of times, or you may say that 5 appears more number of times. You can't say that. All these outcomes are equally likely to appear. Then we call such events as equally likely outcomes. Then when will you get such events which are not equally likely? Suppose the dice is broken on a side. Suppose whatever the dice you have taken, if it is broken on one side, then there is more possibility that the dice will fall on the broken side. At that time, the same number appears many more number of times. So then we call them as not equally likely. So, but whatever we are studying for our syllabus, we will be considering only equally likely events only. All the coins that we are tossed, the dice we throw, they will be always a fair coin or a fair dice. Otherwise, we will get not equally likely events there. So this is about the equally likely events. So next we have mutually exclusive events. So mutually exclusive events means the events that when one event appears, the other event should not appear. We call it as mutually exclusive. Like when you toss a coin, if head appears, then tail cannot appear. If tail appears, then head cannot appear. So these two are mutually exclusive events. This is one event, this is another event. These two events are mutually exclusive events. Similarly, for this tossing of a dice, if you consider, even number appears means odd number cannot appear here. If I say odd number appears, even number cannot appear, then these two are mutually exclusive events. Even E1 and even E2, we can say that they are mutually exclusive because when one event occurs, the other event cannot occur there. So to define what the events are first, what is event E1, what is event E2, then to say that they are mutually exclusive, if one event occurs, the other event should not occur there. Can you say E1 and E3 are mutually exclusive? Are E1 and E3 mutually exclusive?
No.
Why not?
2 is in both.
Yes. When I say even number appears, 2 appears there. But 2 is also a prime number. So prime number appears case also happens. So therefore, E1 and E3, these are not mutually exclusive. Similarly, when we go for E2, E2 is odd number appears. So when I say odd number appears, we have 3 and we have 5, which are also prime numbers. So prime number also appears when I say odd number appears. So that means they are not mutually exclusive. In other words, if the intersection is a null set, then we say that they are mutually exclusive. If you can see, I hope you know intersection union of sets. If you take the intersection of these two sets, it is a null set. Then E1 and E2 are mutually exclusive. Similarly, if you take now E1 and E3, you don't have a null set for intersection. 2 appears there. E1 intersection E2, E3, E1 intersection E3, you have 2. So that means it is not a null set and hence E1 and E3 are not mutually exclusive. Similarly, E2 and E3 are also not mutually exclusive. With this, move on to probability. So what is probability of an event? Suppose there are m favorable cases for an event E to occur out of total n possible equally likely cases. Then the probability of happening of the event E, or we say that probability of its success of the event E, is expressed as probability of E is equal to m by n. That is number of favorable cases divided by total possibilities. So what it is written, suppose m favorable cases of an event E. Then suppose let us say that, again let us take the same experiment of tossing a dice. Suppose a dice is tossed, you know that these are the possible outcomes. This is our sample space. Now, if you want the probability of one such event E1, sorry, if you want the probability of E1, then what you have to do, E1 means here we have taken the case of even number appearing. Then what the definition tells, probability of E1, it is m by n, where m stands for favorable cases, number of favorable cases. Favorable cases means which favor the occurrence of the event E here, E1. Favorable cases means the number of cases, how many cases are there which will favor the occurrence of the event E1. So suppose I say even number appears, how many cases are there which will favor this? 2 will appear, it's the even number. 4 may appear, it is also even number. 6 may appear, that is also even number. Now how many cases are there? We have 3 favorable cases, we say. So we'll write 3 divided by total possibilities. So, divided by total possibilities. What is the total possibilities? When you toss a dice, what are the total possibilities? How many are there? Total possibilities.
6, mom.
6.
6, ma'am.
So yes. So we'll write 3 divided by 6. That means we'll get 1 by 2. This is the definition of probability. Probability of occurring of the event E means how many elements are favoring or how many cases are favoring for the event E, that will be taken in the numerator. Total possibilities needs to be taken in the denominator, and the fraction will give us the probability of that event. And here, usually we prefer to write it in fractions because it tells us that probability of event even what we have written here, we have got it as 1 by 2. Probability of occurrence of even number is 1 by 2. That means whenever you perform the experiment, out of 2 times, 1 time you may get a even number. If you perform the experiment 2 times, 1 time, at least 1 time you may get here. It is not a sure one. Whenever you write this probability, you are not sure about this. It is just a guess. So out of 2 times performing an experiment, 1 time you may get your event E. So that is what the probability tells. Now suppose I write one more event A, number less than 3 appears. Can you tell me the probability of this? What is probability of A? How many are favorable for it? Same experiment of tossing a dice. A number less than, 3? Less than 3 appears. So how many are favorable? Less than 3 means in this. How many are favorable for less than 3?
1
2 numbers.
Yes?
2 numbers.
2 numbers. 1 and 2, right? 1 and 2. That is, if you write set A, that will contain 1 and 2, right? But how many are there? We want the number of, number less than 3 appears. Number of the favorable cases we want. So how many are there? 2. Divided by, again, total possibilities, you know it is 6. So the probability is, we say, 1 by 3. Okay? So this is how we define the probability of an event E. So what we are written, probability of any event E, it is m divided by n, where m is the number of favorable cases, n is total possibilities. Now, E dash stands for the other way, that is, we say it as not occurring of the event. E dash represents, here we have written it, suppose E dash represents that the event will not occur. Sometimes it is also written as E bar, okay? Because we are in sets, you can write it as E dash, or it is also denoted by E bar. If E tells that the event E occurs, E dash or E bar tells that the event E will not occur, then what is the probability of this E dash or E bar? Now what we want, how many favor this E dash? How many favor this E dash? I'll give an example. But better. Suppose here only we have taken A, we have written. Now what is probability of A dash if I write? So number less than 3 appears. How many are there? I'll write the sample space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is our sample space. Okay. Event A we have taken, number less than 3 appears. Now, how many are favoring for it? 1 and 2. Now, when I write A dash, how many are? We want probability that A dash does not occur. So, does not occur means how many are not favorable for this event? Whatever the remaining are. How many are there? 4. Right? Yes. Divided by 6. So, in general, if I want probability of E dash, so total possibilities 1, 2, so on up till n we have. That is what we have written. Out of them, m are favorable to one of the event E. Then, how many are not favorable for this event? How many are not favorable for this event?
2.
Yes? No, don't stop. See, we wrote 4 here, right? We wrote 4. 2 are favoring our event A. 4 of them are not favoring our event. Total possibilities is 6. This is for A dash. This here we have 2, here we have 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. What I want to tell is, suppose m cases are favorable, then how many are not favorable? 2
M
cases are
minus m.
n minus 1. Total possibilities minus 2 if you do, you will get here 4. Okay. So, total possibilities here is n. M are favorable to them. So, which are not favorable means it is total possibilities minus the favorable cases. Divided by we have n. We simplify this, n by n minus m by n. We get 1 minus m by n. But what is this m by n? It is probability of E. So we can write probability of E dash is equal to 1 minus probability of E. Probability of E, already we have defined it as m by n. So we'll just substitute here P of E. So what we get here, probability of E dash plus probability of E is equal to 1. So it's an important property of probability. The probability of occurring of an event and the probability of not occurring of that event, if you take their sum, it is always equal to 1 only. Probability of occurrence of the event E and the probability of the non-occurrence of the event E dash, the sum of these two will be always equal to 1. So it is one of the properties of your probability. Now, let us move on to the axioms of probability. So you can see the axioms of probability. So what are the axioms of probability? For any event A, the probability of A is greater than or equal to 0. Okay. So whatever the event you take, whenever you talk about any event A, the probability of that event always should be greater than or equal to 0. That does not mean you can have 1, 2, 3. It will be always a fraction. Probability of A, okay. So you can see here probability of E, occurrence of the event and non-occurrence of the event, total sum is only 1. So whatever you have in between, they should be all decimals only, or you can say fractions only. So probability of A is always greater than or equal to 0. That tells that either it may be 0 or it is a positive quantity. Probability of any event cannot be negative. And the next axiom is, when S is the sample space, the set of all possibilities P of S is equal to 1. That is, the probability of the sample space is always equal to 1. Now again, if I take the same experiment of tossing of a dice, these are the possible outcomes. If I say an event is number less than 7 appears. Number less than 7 appears. What are the possibilities here? What will the set E contain? If I say number less than 7 appears when a dice is thrown, what are the favorable cases? What are the favorable cases? Number less than 7 appears means
All 6.
all 6. Okay. So you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number less than 7 appears means we have all the 6. But this event has the same elements as your sample space, right? So when I write the probability of E, so how many values are there? It is all 6. Total possibilities is also 6. And you can see E is nothing but our yes only. So probability of E is nothing but probability of the sample space here. And what's the value you have got? The value is 1. So whenever you take the probability of the sample space, you can just understand sample space means you'll get all the elements there, and total possibilities means again all the elements. So probability of the sample space will be equal to 1. Okay. And the last axiom is probability of A and B are there means if the events A and B are mutually exclusive, then probability of A union B is equal to probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B. I hope you remember it. You might have used it many times when you are done probability. Addition law of probability, we call it as probability of A union B, probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B. It is. Suppose as I had taken S is equal to, again we'll consider the same experiment of tossing of dice. Suppose A is even number appears, we have 2, 4, 6. Suppose I say B is prime number appears, then we'll have 2, 3, and 5, right? So if these are the two events, then what is probability of A union B? Now A union B is how much here? We have 2, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5, and we have 6. Now what is A intersection B? If you take the intersection, there is only one element, that is 2. Okay. Now let's go for the probability of this. What is probability of A union B? A union B, how many are favorable? How many are there favorable? 5. Total possibilities is 6. So probability of A union B is 5 by 6. Now let us verify this. Let us go to the RHS. Probability of A plus probability of B minus, let us go for probability of A intersection B. What is probability of A here? 3 by 6. Probability of B is again 3 by 6. What is probability of A intersection B? There is only one element, that is 1 by 6. How much you get? 3 by 6 plus 3 by 6, it is 6 by 6. I'll write 1.
5 by 6.
Yes, you have to get it 5 by 6. So this is LHS equal to RHS. So this is important. These are all the important axioms of probability that you have to remember. One thing is probability of any event is always greater than or equal to 0. That means it cannot be negative. Always, whenever you find the probability of any event, you should get a positive value only. And probability of the sample space is 1. And this addition law of probability of A union B, it will be equal to probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B. Okay. So with this, let me just discuss some simple examples on this probability, so that If I hope you know about the cards and all. Suppose there is a deck of cards, then what is the probability of picking? I don't want to write the examples and go in detail because this is all the prerequisites. You have learned them all. This is not actually there in the syllabus. Syllabus begins with random variables. Okay, I'm just telling you about probability. So suppose there is a deck of cards. You know how many cards are there? 52 in a deck of cards. Now, what is the probability of picking a king?
Four by 52.
Probability of picking a king. So yes, so 4 by 52. Why 4 by 52?
There are 4 kings.
Yes, in the deck of this 52 cards, there are 4 kings. So favorable cases will be 4. Total possibilities is 52. So how total possibilities is 52 means how does 52 comes actually? Why we write 52? Or why we write this 4? How this 4 comes? We are picking one king, you know. We are probability of picking one king we are talking about. Why to write 4? Can anybody explain it? Probability of picking one king we are talking. Suppose I say I go for you know kings. There are 4. I'll write them K1, K2, K3, and K4. These are the 4 kings in your deck of 52 cards. Okay. Now I want one card means you told 4. What's the in how many ways can you pick 2 cards? 2 kings. In how many ways can you pick 2 kings? You know it or not? How many? See, you told when I said probability of picking a king means one king, you told it is 4. So what's the probability of picking? I want 2 red cards, red kings, I'll say. So you know that there are 2 red kings and 2 black kings. So what's the probability of picking 2 red kings?
4, ma'am.
4 again? Why 4? I want 2 kings. I want out of this 2 kings. How did you say it is 4? Can you explain? Did you count them all? Possibilities? Did you count all the possibilities or what did you do? How did you say that it is 4? Just tell me how you got it as 4.
It can be either K1 or K2 or K1 or K3, ma'am.
That means you have counted all. Like this? You
Yes,
counted. Suppose I say there are 100 cards. I want 100 people are there. I want 15 members from them. How will you count? Suppose there is students. You can say 100 students are there in your class. I want 15 students for some event. Then how many possibilities are there? Means are you going to count all them? Is there any possibility of counting? What should be done? It is nothing but the number of ways in which you can select 2 cards it is. Are you getting anything from this? When I say the word select, number of ways in which you can select 2 cards. 4 cards are there. We want to select 2 cards. In how many ways can you do? Forgot everything. It comes under combination. It is 4C2. Out of 4 kings, we want any 2 kings. It is selection of 2 kings. can be done in 4C2. Here, why this 4 comes means, here out of 4 we want any one. So we are writing 4C1. Value of 4C1 is 4. That is why we are getting there 4. Okay. Value of 4C2, I hope you know, or else you can use directly your calculator to find this value. What's the formula for NCR? I hope you remember NPR and NCR, combination permutations. And I told so many times before starting this module to go through it. What is the formula for NCR? Nobody remembers? NPR? Don't know the formulas of NPR and NCR? N factorial divided by N minus R factorial. Here it is N factorial divided by N minus R factorial into R factorial. That is NCR. If you go for this 4C2, you have your calculators, need not worry about the formula, I think. What is the value of 4C2? At least tell me the value of 4C2 with your calculator.
6, ma'am.
4 factorial divided by 4 minus 2 factorial into 2 factorial. It is 4 factorial is 24 divided by 4. You get 6, right? So at the when you counted, you went wrong. You told only 4. Now there are 6 possibilities. There are 6. Here 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, and 6 possibilities. Okay. K1, K2, K1, K3, K1, K4. Again K2, K3, and K3. K2, K4, and this K3 and K4. So these are the 6 possibilities. So remember, we'll take their combination. That is why we get the value as 4C1 or 4C2, whatever it is. Okay. So the number of ways in which you can pick one king is 4C2, right? Now, if I say, what's the probability of picking a king, a queen, and a knave? Knave means it is jack. What's the probability of picking a king, a queen, and a knave? What's the probability of picking a king? Just now you have written. It will be, actually it is 4C1 divided by 52C1. So that will give us 4 by 52. This is probability of picking a king. What is the probability of picking a queen now?
4 by 52.
Same again, right? It is again 4 by 52. I'll just write 4 by 52. For a king, it is 4 by 52. For a queen, again, it is 4 by 52. And you know, there are 4 jacks. So again, it is 4 by 52. Now, do you need to add them or multiply them? Probability of picking a king, a queen, and a knave. Should we add all these values or should we multiply the values? Tell me anything. Don't keep quiet. What should be done? Should we add it or should we multiply it? Be quick.
Multiply.
Multiply. Why multiply? Or if you multiply, when to add? Suppose when to add and when to multiply. If I add, what happens? If I multiply, what happens? Here you have and. You want a king, as well again you want a queen, and you want a knave. You want all the three experiments or results of these experiments simultaneously. Then you have to multiply. If you want all the three to occur simultaneously, or each of the events one after the other, they have to occur simultaneously, means we are going to multiply. So and means it is multiplication. Now suppose instead of and it was or here. Pick we want either a king or a queen or a jack, if it was like that. So you want either this or this or this, then we'll go for addition. Okay, so just remember, whenever you have and, it will be multiplication. Whenever you have or, it will be addition. Okay, so if the question is what's the probability of picking a king or a queen or a jack, then we would have added them. Here they asked and, so we will multiply them. So remember them, when to add and when to multiply. Suppose there are 50 books in a library. 3 of them are valuable books, most valuable books, and somebody steals 5 books. 5 books are stolen. 5 books are stolen from this. Then what's the probability that none of these 3 valuable books are included? Probability that none of the 3 valuable books are included, means they are not stolen. Can you tell the probability of this? Just think a little. 50 books are there. Out of them, 3 are valuable. 5 books have been stolen. 5 books have been stolen. What is the probability that none of these 3 valuable books are stolen? The event E, you can say it is probability that none of the 3 valuable books are stolen. Now, what is the probability of the event E? Are you free next hour? Are you free? Not. Be quick. Or you don't want the class?
Yes, I'm free.
You're free. So shall I continue? I'll tell A division students to add. Okay. You just, anybody got this answer? Anybody got the answer for this?
47 C5.
47 C5. This is your total. You can't have. See, whenever you write. Okay, 47 C5. Why 47 C5 you are telling? Is this the total probability you are telling, or what does 47 C5 stands for? R. Because probability means you should have divided by. Is it the total possibilities, or you are telling about the event T?
Events, ma'am.
Event. Okay. Why 47 C5?
Remove the 3 valuable books from the 50 books.
Good one. Good. The probability of that none of the 3 valuable books are included. There are total 50 books. You don't want these 3 books to be stolen. So if you keep them aside, how many are remaining? 47 books are remaining. 47 books are remaining. Now, out of those 47, how many are stolen? 5 books are stolen. None of the 3 books are included in this. So remove those 3. How many are remaining? 47. So out of 47, the number of ways in which 5 books can be stolen is 47 C5. Now total possibilities. Total possibilities. 50 books are there. 50 books are there. So total possibilities is 50 C5. In how many ways? 5 books can be stolen out of 50. So whatever the answer you get, that gives you the probability of the event that none of the 3 valuable books are included. So just remember how to apply these combinations. Usually it will be the matter of selection only. So how to apply this selection you should know. Okay, I'll just wait for some time. Let A division students enter, then we'll go for the random variables.